Hello and welcome back, and if you're new here, thanks for checking out the channel. I'm in a woodland that is pretty close to where I live. You know, it's not too far, it's close enough to call local, and I'm here for a particular purpose, and that is to find an ancient stone circle. Now, you know, it's going to be windy, we're pretty high here, so we can't avoid that today. And you know, we're going to do a bit of exploring along the way, and we'll see what we can find. And yeah, hopefully it'll be a pleasant little outing. Yeah, so what you're looking at is grills on top of Cornish tin mines, and there's a big, you know, industrial history behind all this. And indeed, the Havana mining company did trade, you know, on its own, and then it joined forces with another mining operation that was nearby on a tour, and that's Fox Tour. Now, when they joined forces, they actually went under the trading name of Havana and Fox Tour Red Hill Tin Mining Company Limited, and the dates are like 1843 and 1918, and they did work independently during that time for a period, and then they merged and become a company. You know, when and how, I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah, this was an independent mine at one point, but like I said, it did collaborate and become part of another mining operation nearby. So yeah, there's a long history of industrial works and mining in this area. There's plenty of obviously logging roads and fire tracks, and this forest is used by a lot of people dog walking, mountain biking, you know, activities, just being out and about. So you will possibly meet people here, but having said that, it's big enough that if you start reaching the extremities, most people won't actually be making their way to those parts, so you can find yourself having a nice secluded little hike or walk without meeting anybody if you so do wish that. Despite the wind, it is still good to be out hiking. I kind of needed this today. I felt a little bit, you know, what's the word, claustrophobic. I needed just to get out and stretch my legs in the fresh air. So yeah, this is going to be a good little opportunity to stretch your legs and get my fix of being outdoors. You've probably heard the saying before, history repeating itself, and there's a little bit that with this woodland. Now, the beginning part of the 20th century, Britain was finding it quite hard to import wood, and Europe and, well, indeed the world was a vastly changing place. Political powers struggling, you know, social events. It was all starting to take its toll on the security of wood for the nation. And indeed, within the you know, early part of the 20th century, we then went into World War One. World War One needed vast quantities of wood for the trenches and the war effort, and subsequently it was decided Britain, with its limited supplies of domestic wood, and you know, they had been felled previously in the past, needed to secure its own supply domestically. So in 1919 the Forestry Act went through Parliament, and it meant the vast swathes of the country, conifer trees, fast growing trees, were planted to give Britain its strategic supply of wood and no longer be beholden to external powers, forces and political situations worldwide. It had some homegrown wood. Now, obviously, with what's happening in the world at the minute, could there be a lesson there? That's a separate debate and topic, I suppose. But large swathes of our country, woodlands and forestries that we enjoy now, come on the back of that Forestry Act. It did come at the expense of a lot of native, tree planting and forests that could have been planted, but those are being talked about and addressed now in this new environmental age. Once you get off the tracks and once you've walked far enough into this forestry, you do come across some, very dark, gloomy places where people don't tread and people don't come, such as behind me. You could go on for hundreds and hundreds of meters in there and, be all to yourself, lost in the darkness and gloom. This forestry has a lot of moss. It's not completely devoid of all other life except for the trees, which usually happens as a monoculture, but yes, you can find yourself completely lost to the world in there, and sometimes that's what you need in this modern world. So Cornwall has a very rich history of its own. It's often referred to as the fourth Celtic nation in regards to the United Kingdom, Great Britain. Now, here on Bodmin Moor, we're privileged to have some quite well preserved archaeological sites, and they date through all the various periods in our time. Now, Cornwall was a relative backwater, even so far as to when the new A30 was made to let commerce travel more freely. It was still a relative backwater up until then. Now, due to that, agricultural practices didn't really change much up on the higher grounds, so a lot of it didn't get really too heavily destroyed, and that's part of the reason it still exists. Now, Cornwall is quite famed for its rebellions. It even sided or gained the help of the Vikings or enlist the help of the Vikings to try and oust the English coming into parts of Cornwall. And that wasn't a successful venture, by the way. I think they all, in regards to that, did have their comeuppance on that, but in any case, there is an air of difference here, and history, hangs heavy in the air when you're in places like this. There are several routes to this stone circle, and I'm going through a forestry, and by the route I've taken, which gives me a reasonable length of hike. I'm going to guesstimate possibly a round trip of about 6 miles, but that was because I wanted a workout. There is possibly shorter routes, but you'd have to put into consideration private land. And indeed, I do believe this stone circle sits on private land, so you would need to get prior permission for that. But in any case, I'm going to be going out onto more exposed ground and then ultimately moorland, which will, I will get hit and buffeted by all this wind. Up until now I've had the trees to kind of blanket some of it out. But yeah, it's been very enjoyable so far, just being out hiking. And I have, as I mentioned in a further video, earlier one, I've started doing speed hiking, which is going as fast as I can to get the heart rate going. And it's made a massive difference. Like to today, I can feel it. Like say, I had people behind me earlier and, you know, I left them for dust. And that's not the aim. The aim is simply so I can cover ground quicker when I'm out hiking. And it's looking like that speed hiking workouts I'm doing is gradually paying off. You can see and hear how fast those clouds are moving, and indeed the trees now, as we come out, and we're in the lee of the high ground up there now. So from here on in, it's wind. But the trail is pretty good. It's gravel track and well maintained. So up until this point, I haven't needed my welly boots, which I've put on quite simply because I don't know what the ground is going to be like on the moor. Right, I'm actually in a woodland and I'm actually walking up beside some agricultural ground, and I'm using that as a reference point to the map I've got. Now hopefully if I follow this line now I should be able to see what I'm looking to see, but it's really dark and gloomy in there and it goes on for ages. There's also a big drainage ditch here. Yeah, so I'm going to get over that, negotiate all this and crack on. Time is actually slipping away quite fast. I'm going to make my way through this little fence which looks like it has been used for the purpose that I'm going to use it for. But yeah, a little bit of a mission to get here, and sorry about the wind, but it really can't be helped. And it's one of those days, if I didn't do it now, I don't think I would have done it for several more months. Right, I've got to make my way through these small little copse of fir trees, and then I should be able to push out into the open. I'm going to push through here and pick my way through the reeds. I'm standing back probably about 30-40 metres, and those stones are there. They've just come straight into view, and with those grey clouds above them and the hills in the distance, it absolutely, well, it's majestic. Now I'm going to walk out to the stones in this little clearing. It's flanked by fir trees, and I've just come through those reeds, and here we are. This is what I've been searching for, and like I said, that was no mean task. Here we are. I'll just go around the outside of the circle, get to this particular stone here, I think. You can see them all the way around there. Bringing you around to this one here. To think these have been here and placed here by the hand of man back in the, well, like Neolithic, possibly early Bronze Age. You know, it actually blows your mind. There are other archaeological sites up here to explore, but for me today, this is it. I don't have the time. I've burnt a lot of time just to get here. I hope you can appreciate how special this is. you can actually feel it. It actually feels special to be here. And there we go, I'm coming around the circle completely now. You can see them there. I'll go back to where I started from. You need to see it in its entirety, that's why I've done the complete circle. I'm back over here to where we started from, this one here. It really does feel special here. You know, there's no two ways about it. You can't dress it up. You know, when you're here by yourself, in nature, in the wilderness, or as much as you can call it wilderness, you know, and you come across something like this, it is totally special. Yeah, it feels really special to touch these. They're covered in like moss and lichen. The air is really clean and clear up here, so obviously, you know, they don't get any, shall we say, pollution. So, you know, with a good quality of air, lichens like these stones to actually live on. And yeah, there's a multitude of species and colours of it, and it just adds to that feel of age. But yeah, totally special and totally stoked and psyched to be here and to touch them. So just a few things about this stone circle. Now, it sits at 1,400 feet above sea level. It's in line with other stone circles on the moor and other you know, features on the moor. It has been rebuilt, or not rebuilt, reformed from stones that have fallen over time and things like that. And that was done in 1906 by Reverend A.H. Mallam. Now, some of those stones are possibly not here. There's 23, I think. There should be slightly more, or they believe there should be more. And you know, it is a pretty special place to come and see in itself, even if it is, you know, believed to be incomplete. Now, it sits on Shepherd's Hill, and you've got, you know, commanding views if some of these fir trees that wouldn't have been here at the time over to other high ground. And indeed, you know, it's a little bit of a shame they're there, that you can't see possibly what it was intended to actually look across to. But you know, I do know that these places, you know, people do still hold in high regard, as in spiritually, like the new age, or should we say people following the old religions, or the modern incarnation of them. They still believe coming to these places in some way connects them with you know, the ancestors and the past, or they can feel it. And indeed, some people say if you come to places like this, these old ancient places, you know, you come to them, you can possibly find the ancient little creatures of Cornish folklore, like the piskies, you know, the fairies, the little folk, the spriggans. You know, these places still hold a certain kind of magic, and when you come to them, you can actually feel it. So I'm going to remove myself from the circle back into the tree line to get out of the wind, and I'm going to have a cup of coffee, you know, get my thoughts and myself together and start thinking about the long journey back to the car. And you know, I did actually move at a fair rate to get here, so I do know that I've covered a lot of distance, and I've got that distance to do. So, and I plan to do it in the same manner, so I get a workout out of this as well. I got my coffee. I've got a little bit more out of the wind. I'm in the lee of some trees here. You can still hear the wind, but it's nowhere near as bad. The fact is, I removed myself from that stone circle because obviously I just felt like it was needed due, I know, respect. But yeah, I'm going to have some coffee and and really push hard to get back to the car now. The thing is, I was thinking about it, like I say, it felt special to be in there, but it felt something just a little bit more, because that's my history, that's my culture, that's my lineage in effect, and it just makes you feel that little bit more connected to the land. All those things, I'm sure there's people that can understand that, and I'm sure there's people who just say it's just total nonsense. But just inside, just going to a place like that, and just feeling it just feels ultimately special. And I challenge anybody not to go to somewhere like that and not just feel something spiritual or just inherently special about that place. Well, you can probably see I've got a sweat on. I've pushed it hard and I'm pretty much near enough back to the car. I hope you enjoyed that, hike with me, and that stone circle of Good Ava is, far enough out of the way for a lot of people not to even bother going there. But it was definitely worth it, and it's definitely a special place. So I hope you could kind of feel the vibes. But there are other archaeological sites nearby that I want to check out, so I will be going back. As with everybody and as with life, most of us have got time commitments, and I'm rushing back to fulfill one of those now. So yeah, this is Andy, and I hope to catch you out on the trail, and till then, stay safe, all the best.